Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful story. It comes from the life of a medieval mystic, and honestly, it's an account that completely pushes the boundaries of how we think about faith, surrender, and, well, the very nature of God's love for us.
So this whole story, it really hinges on one incredible idea: perfect resignation. Now, what does that even mean? To just completely and utterly surrender yourself to a higher power? You know, it might sound kind of passive, but as you'll see, this story shows it's one of the most active and profound spiritual things a person can do.
And our guide for this is Saint Gertrude the Great. She was a German Benedictine nun and a mystic, living way back in the 13th century. This text we're looking at, it captures a single life-changing moment that just peels back the curtain on her incredible dialogue with the divine.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's the feast of the Apostle St. Matthew. Gertrude is deep in prayer, and she's feeling this overwhelming sense of gratitude for all of God's blessings. But here's the thing. Instead of just simple joy, she's got this major inner conflict brewing.
She starts thinking to herself that her words of thanks, her prayers, they feel kind of incomplete, almost shallow. She felt like they would be of little value unless they were backed up by something much, much deeper. But what was missing?
And here it is. This is the heart of her problem. For Gertrude, real Thanksgiving wasn't just about celebrating the good stuff. Nope. It was about a willingness to embrace everything. And that includes pain, adversity, all of it, out of love. She felt like her devotion just wasn't real if she wasn't also prepared to suffer.
Now, this wasn't just some philosophical idea she was kicking around in her head. This feeling, this conviction, it moved her to action. A really dramatic, physical, and total act of self-offering.
I mean, just look at the physicality here. The text says she rose in the fervor of her zeal, got up, and just threw herself on the ground. She saw herself as nothing more than a vile carcass. This wasn't some symbolic little bow. This was a total annihilation of her own will.
And in this moment of just absolute humility, she says these words. She offers herself completely. And notice, it's not for her own salvation or to get some spiritual brownie points. It's for whatever might promote God's glory. This is it. This is that moment of perfect resignation. She has held absolutely nothing back.
So, after a moment like that, you might expect, what? A feeling of peace? Maybe just a quiet sense of acceptance? But what happens next is what makes this story so absolutely extraordinary. Her offering is met with an immediate and honestly a startling divine response.
Instead of some distant heavenly nod of approval, the text says the Lord hastened to her. He got down on the ground with her, as if to physically support her in this act of surrender. Can you just picture that? It's an image of incredible intimacy and shared humility.
And then, the first words spoken are just so simple, so direct, and so possessive. This is mine. Not, you're forgiven, or I hear your prayer, but a direct claim on the very being she had just offered up.
Gertrude's response is, well, exactly what you'd expect from a humble saint, right? She agrees. She acknowledges that fundamental relationship, creator and creation. Yes, of course, I belong to you. I'm the work of your hands. It's the classic textbook reply. But it turns out it's not the whole story.
And the response she gets back is just stunning. Absolutely stunning. The Lord basically says, yeah, that's true, but there is so much more to it. Our connection isn't just creator to creature. We are so united by love that my own heavenly happiness would feel incomplete without you. Just wow.
Gertrude is, as you can imagine, completely floored. How can this possibly be? She asks him why he would say something like that to her, just one person, when he has countless saints and angels in heaven to share his happiness with. Why would her presence matter so much to an all-powerful God?
And her question, it leads to the final, incredible revelation of the story. The Lord gives her an analogy to try and explain this seemingly impossible kind of love. A love that actually makes the divine vulnerable to loss.
Okay, so here's the analogy. He says that the feeling of someone who has never had something, like a limb, is totally different from the feeling of someone who had it their whole life and then lost it. That loss of something that was an actual part of you, that's a much deeper, more personal kind of pain.
And that is the heart of it all. God's love for a soul that has given itself to him isn't some detached, abstract thing. The union is so real that the soul becomes like a part of his own being. And so, its absence wouldn't be felt like a missing creation, but like a lost limb, an intimate, painful loss.
What Gertrude experienced, what this story reveals, is a concept called unitive love.
Through her act of perfect resignation, she didn't just get a reward, she actually uncovered the reality of a union so deep that the very idea of separation between the soul and God just starts to dissolve.
And that leaves us with this final, really thought-provoking question. This story just blows past the simple model of a distant God and a pleading human. It suggests a love that is mutual, that is vulnerable, and is so total that it erases the space between the divine and the soul. So what does that truly mean for our understanding of love itself?